on players' performances year to year, which is an unfair thing, but it happens. This is just something that happens with most fandoms. I feel like we are at a point where the fandom is doubting Josh Lowe.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays, from game analysis to player interviews. We've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano,
bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
Whether you're a diehard fan who vividly remembers Longo's Game 162 just like us,
or you remember the early Devil Ray days of Wade Boggs or Carl Crawford,
we're here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this is our 6th season covering the Rays daily.
In every season, they've gone to the playoffs, hopefully again this year. In the meantime, grab your favorite Rays gear, settle in, subscribe to our Locked On Rays YouTube channel and other podcast platforms. And you can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100.
Well, Ulises, the Rays take another series, this time on the road against the Houston Astros, who are also fighting for a playoff spot. It is a Monday. Let's go ahead, dive right in. Our takeaways from this series, the weekend that was. What do you got?
Okay, so it's very easy to turn as a fandom, I think, on players' performances year to year, which is an unfair thing, but it happens. This is just something that happens with most fandoms. I feel like we are at a point where the fandom is doubting Josh Lowe due to his performance in 2024. He came from a year where, he was fantastic in 2023. He had 292 average, 335 on base, and 835 OPS. He had 20 home runs. He had 32 stolen bases in his first full year with 466 at-bats. Like, that's amazing. Like, you could take that to the bank, and yes, we will take this. In 2024, that average has dipped about 60 points. He's hitting 234. The on base as well, like almost 50 points at 293, and the OPS, well, about 180 points to 703. Doesn't have that much pop. 7 home runs, 10 stolen bases, and 188 at bats. However, last 12 games, so post All-Star game, 317 average, a 349 on base, an 886 OPS. 2 home runs, 2 stolen bases, and 41 at bats. So I think it's very critical in order for Rays fandom in 2025 to not make it a break it or make it year for Josh Lowe. These last 2 months can go a very, very long way to lower that temperature in the fandom.
Yeah, it is funny because very quickly we can be very high on a player, and very quickly after that we can be very low on a player. And there's ebbs and flows to a season, ebbs and flows to a guy's career. And I think we also have to have a better understanding and comprehension of the injury impact to a particular player. It's not just like, hey, you miss time, you come back, you're going to be totally like you were before. There is a learning curve to get back to 100%, because it's not just like, oh, a little ache and pain here for Josh Lowe. You're talking hamstring, oblique, hip over the last couple years that he's been dealing with. And if I have a little conspiracy theory why he's heating up these last 12 games, maybe he finally got a breather and a rest during the All-Star break, and don't want to say rehabilitate, but got a rest for a couple of days to refocus, get the muscles going right, and now we see what he's doing popping off here.
almost a whole week off, right? Just giving the body some rest.
Yeah.
And plus that, if we can add to the conspiracy theory, hey, maybe he said he found something in his swing. That could be anything, right? That could be anything at all. It also could be the fact that, hey, maybe the oblique isn't hurting as much now. Maybe his body itself is saying, hey, we're recuperating, baby. Like, we're kind of feeling okay.
Yeah. You combine that with getting some time off the trop turf, because that also has a negative impact on all the joints and so forth.
And he went off, that game on Saturday. He led that offense with 2 home runs in a single game. So I feel like the fandom has, just like any other, a tendency to overreact with players' performances. They don't let it breathe a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think with this case, like, you are trying to build around Josh Lowe. Like, Josh Lowe could be the kind of guy that is in the middle of your lineup for 5-6 years if you're a Rays fan. In other fan bases, he would be there for 8-10 years. But 5 to 6 years, we'll take it if it's that 2023 Josh Lowe. And these 2 months that are coming up, if he's heating up like he has after the post All-Star game, there will be no questions, I think, from the majority of the fan base regarding his 2025 outlook.
Yeah, you got to have somebody step up with the exits of so many other players. And the Rays, that is something that they have to think about, is who is going to be our next or future franchise player, who is going to be a part of the core in 25, 26, 27, 28. Is Josh Lowe going to be a part of it? I would hope so. I would think so. But crazier things have happened before as well. So good stuff there. We have more to discuss, but first, Ulises, we have to tell the audience something very important.
Yes, and that is, in Florida, it can get hot, people. It can get real hot real quick, and you might not notice, but maybe you're a little bit dehydrated. And what better way to get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America? That's right, it's Liquid IV. You can take it anywhere. I mean, if you're in the beach, if you're traveling, if you're just going out for a walk, guess what? You just need 16 ounces of water plus that one stick. You tear it, you pour it, you live more, and you hydrate better than water alone. So no more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. Really simple code, people. MLB. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code, everybody, MLB at liquidiv.com.
Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So my takeaway is not Josh Lowe, but another Lowe, actually, Brandon Lowe. Just want to circle back to the amazing July that he had, and that, if I may pat myself on the back, predicted monster numbers. In 23 games in July, he hit 325, had a 407 on base percentage, slugged 638, and OPS brings you to 1.045, hit 6 homers, 12 RBIs, 11 walks. I mean, did the whole thing, 7 doubles. It speaks for itself. So let's hope that if Josh Lowe is heating up, maybe Brandon Lowe continues to go on his track, and maybe the Rays can sneak into the playoffs here. There still is work to be done, but it got me thinking, and let me just note this. It is not just the July has certainly helped matters, but Brandon Lowe, as of today, is putting together a really, really solid 2024 campaign. In just 212 at-bats, he has 12 homers, 38 RBI, 269 average, 355 on base percentage, 869 OPS. That's really all you can ask for at this point, especially with all the time that he missed due to injury.
He has not been an issue with the offense. No. That's 100%. And Okay, so you saying Josh? Okay, Josh Lowe's heating up. Brandon Lowe has been pretty hot for a month plus already.
Yeah.
It's who's also been hot. Yandy Diaz. And is Christopher Morel just going to pop home runs every couple games? That'd
Let's
be
hope
nice.
so.
Then you got your offense kind of clicking a little bit more and more and more, and the pitching has been doing its job for the most part. I mean, what Alexander did on Sunday's game, that was great. Bilal, if he's able to do this, it's so huge because nobody else around him can do what he can do, which is put the ball over on the seats. Because you're not getting any pop from Rortvet or Alex Jackson. Forget about it. You're not getting a lot of pop from Yandy. You're not going to get a lot of pop from Caballero or Walls. Okay. And the pop that you're going to get from Josh Lowe and Siri is iffy because you don't know when it's coming. DeLuca, not so much.
It can come in bunches. It can come. Siri gets 3 home runs in 4 games. Josh Lowe has a 2 home run performance. Where Brandon Lowe and Kevin Cash even mentioned this. When we have runners in scoring position, that is the dude. That is the man that we want to have up and be able to execute.
Yeah, because with one swing, he can give you 3 runs.
Yeah.
And that's huge for an offense that has struggled so mightily with just putting numbers on the board. So, yeah, his 2024, I am actually surprised. I hadn't seen that slash line in a bit. And the 269 average, very nice. And the 869 OPS, very nice as well.
Oh, yeah. And it begs the question. I know there's been a lot of talk about what's going to happen this offseason, what's going to be the future of Brandon Lowe. 2025, there's a club option for $10.5 million. 2026, there's a club option for $11.5 million. On a scale of 1 to 10, and then he's an undrafted, or undrafted. Oh my gosh, it's a Monday here. He's an unrestricted free agent in 2027 at the age of 32. Brandon Lowe, 2025. Do you believe his option will get picked up by the Rays? Confidence level 1 to 10. 10 being no doubt it's going to be picked up. 1 being no, absolutely not.
I can tell you I am 100% confident, 100% confident. If one thing happens.
What's that one thing?
If he doesn't go on the IL for the rest of the year, it'll get picked up.
Which is a big if.
Which is a big if, but that's the one thing. I think it's that much. Like he doesn't go hurt, they pick it up because, like we just said, nobody can do what he can right now in this clubhouse unless you go out and get somebody that can do that. The power that you're looking for, he's the only guy that can do it. Nobody can do it in the lineup like he can right now, power wise. So.
Yeah,
you pick it up if he doesn't go on the IL. If he goes on the IL, that's too much to pay if you're Stu for somebody that might just play 60 to 90 games.
Right. Yeah, you're hovering in Kevin Kiermaier territory. When he's on the field and making catches, you love it, but you hate the fact that he's going to miss a third of the season. So, and that's why Brandon Lowe better be doing everything he can to protect himself because he literally is playing for $10.5 million. But I would think, if the Rays are like, hey, we can't really stomach having his payroll on the roster, which I don't know why not. Think about all the money you offset over the last couple of weeks. You can afford to pay 1 or 2 guys $8 to $10 million, especially impact players like this. But if he really he finishes with a solid slash line, solid numbers. I know he's only at 63 games played here, but he finishes the year with 100 plus games played. You pick up that option, and then maybe if you feel like you don't want his salary on the books or you have too many concerns about getting injured as he's on the wrong side of 30 now, then you offload him and see what you can get out of that.
Exactly.
To the trade deadline, or it gives you options because, again, there's another club option in 2026 at, based on the market level, relatively inexpensive. I mean, 1.5 WAR players are getting that amount of money.
That's the thing, too. That's a really good point. Why let him go when you can just pick up the option and then ship him somewhere else? Now, is somebody else out there going to value him as much as the Rays value him? I think so. I think
I would
so
think
because pop is pop, no matter what. I think somebody with other types of skills like a Yandy Diaz might be a little bit more tougher to kind of evaluate as the Rays do. If you're another front office, like Kevin Kiermaier at his time with the Rays, we knew that he meant something for the Rays that he didn't mean to other clubs.
Right.
But I don't think this is the case with Brandon. So in that case, if you look at it that way with the option tied in, you pick it up, and then if he got hurt and you don't really trust that amount of money to be in safe production, then you can flip him. But I don't know. I think $10.5 million should not be something that can tie your hands, especially when the other guy that's going to be making like $9 or $10 million is Yandy Diaz. Like that shouldn't really be a constriction for you.
I would think you would find other creative ways to get more salary off the roster than lose the expectation of Brandon Lowe and Yandy Diaz and others. Now, I guess the knock on Brandon Lowe for a contending team in the future, whichever team acquires him, is, hey, we have ideations on doing damage in the playoffs. He's not going to give you anything in the playoffs. That's a big problem from that perspective. But I like the point that you made of Brandon Lowe. Like, the power's there. His ability is there. There's no question marks about what he can do when he's on and healthy with the bat. If you look at his advanced numbers on Savant, the expected slugging through the roof, barrel percentage through the roof, hard hit percentage, very, very above average, launch angle sweet spot percentage, elite. He's walking. He's still stealing bags. He's even, it's not just homers. I mean, he's getting singles and doubles up the middle the other way. He's hitting the ball to all fields. But it's not like Isaac Paredes, where it's kind of a niche power thing of, hey, he's only going to pull home runs. Brandon Lowe can hit no doubters to the middle of the park. He can pull the ball. I feel like there's no question marks about his power potential. Whichever ballpark you stick him in, whether it's Coors Field or Tropicana Field, he will find a way to get it over the fence. So I think he has that going for him as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm here thinking, could, because the arm strength is at the 18th percentile, the outs above average at the 38th percentile. It's not looking so good with the glove. And
he did make a diving. He did the other day. He did make a diving stop to, I think, his glove side. So, and
no, because I'm saying, like,
gotten a rundown and stealing some bags. He's doing, he's holding fort to some extent.
He's doing okay. I'm just saying, like, with this downtrend in his glove, could he be a guy that is seen as a DH option? Because DH options like that, like a Kyle Schwarber, are paid what, $20 million? This guy's getting paid 10.5. So that's also something to look at. Like, yeah, he's the stereotypical power hitter. He's gonna whiff a lot, but he's gonna run into a lot too, and he just has to stay on the field. So he could be a DH type, not only for other teams but for the Rays. Like, Yandy gets to start at DH against lefties. Somebody else gets to start at first base. Lowe doesn't play against righties. Lowe is a DH. Against righties, Yandy maybe plays first base against righties. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, that's fair. So hopefully, crossing the fingers that Brandon Lowe can stay healthy. I want to try to bring up. Look, I would just pray that he can play a full season without getting injured. But
yeah,
the likelihood of that is pretty slim. I mean, going back to 2018, and let's remember, this is his 7th season with the Rays. Holy cow. 2018, 43 games, 2019, 82, 2020, of course, COVID, 56, 2021, 149. Man, if we could have that year in and year out, that'd be amazing. 22, 65, 23, 109, 24. We sit at 63 games. So he's got to be healthy and available more often for sure. We have more to discuss, but first we have to tell the audience something very important, and that is Prize Picks. Baseball season is moving right along, and you can make some cash on Rays performances over on Prize Picks. Whether it's stolen bases, home runs, or hits, take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entry today. You can turn $10 into $100 with just a few taps. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB, for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is really simple to play. You can make your picks and submit your entries in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. So get in on the action with Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for up to $100 match on your first deposit. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. We also want to tell you that you can catch every pitch of the Rays hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rays. Also, bookmark si.com/MLB/Rays for written content about your Tampa Bay Rays.
If the Rays front office said, we can only afford one of these guys, Yandy Diaz or Brandon Lowe,
Ooh,
which way do they go? Do they go for a different type of hitter that they don't have, which is I'm going to get on base, I'm going to get line drives, or hey, I'm going to whiff a lot, but I'm going to put 3-run home runs often on the scoreboard. I might not give you a lot on the field. I might not be as healthy. Where do they go?
Yeah. Well, I would say with the complexion of the team as it is today, you have Christopher Morel, power dude. You eventually will have Junior Caminero, power dude. I would think they want to balance and keep that going. As much as you want Brandon Lowe, Yandy is such a stable force with the bat. You know what you're going to get from him, and there's not going to be questions of 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts, big slumps, if you will, outside of the beginning of this season. Like, you can pretty much, players like him are very rare in today's age. And I think you need a guy like that to bring the whole group together. Plus, again, the playoff impacts. Yandy can perform in the playoffs. He's shown that. Brandon Lowe can't at this point. So I would think that would make the math a little bit easier to stomach.
Yeah. No, and it's kind of incredible where Yandy was at the beginning of the year, and now you look at his numbers. It's not the best season he's ever had, of course, but it's definitely not his worst. He's already at a 743 OPS. That's higher than in 2021. He has a 277 batting average. That's higher than 2021. I know he just needs a little bit more cooking,
Right.
but he could end up with a season that is pretty good. If he gets there to like 760, 770 OPS, 290 average, I think we would all be very happy with that, especially given the start of the season. But with the decision between Brandon Lowe or Yandy Diaz, I do think they would go with Yandy just because of all the reasons that you said. But
they asked a high price for him at the trade deadline. They just weren't going to ship him off like an Eflin or a Savali or a Maton or somebody else. They had their price set, and if a team wasn't going to match it, they were completely content with keeping him on the roster.
And him and Bilal have the same issue with options, right? So you don't necessarily have to just like, well, in his case, he's under contract, but you could use that contract to levy something during the offseason.
Right.
A little bit of a trade, because when a player has already dollar signs attached to his name, it makes it much, much simpler for the front office to understand how that person can fit into their budget, how that person can fit into their plans, because it's already a fixed number. They like that. I do also see the scenario where Yandy and Bilal also don't come back.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. Also, another maybe bonus point for Yandy is the connection with the Latin players. I feel like having a veteran presence like that is important to bring the whole group together, despite maybe not getting along with Randy Rosarena, but that's a story for another day. I will say this, though. It does seem like the Rays are still holding fort and perhaps maybe even playing a little bit looser despite trading 9 players off their big league roster in the month of July. Just want to note here, they notched their 12th series. They either won or tied. They've won 10, tied 2 of their last 13 series, moved 3 games above 500 at 57-54 to match their season high, and they've stayed within 5 games of the final American League playoff spot. And they also extended their team record of winning the rubber game of 3-game series to 11, the most of any team since the 1989 A's won 12. So they're still hanging in there. There's, of course, work to do to get to that wild card spot, but it is not completely, totally out of the picture, especially if guys like Tyler Alexander and some other guys we may not have high expectations for contribute in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, what is Jeffrey Springs going to give you? What is Drew Rasmussen when he comes back going to give you to sharpen up that bullpen? I mean, Uceta has done fantastic since being recalled, and Manuel Rodriguez has also, a little bit of a stutter step here and there for Manuel, but when Drew comes back, that'll be even a better bullpen. Can it happen? Can they go to the playoffs still? Yes, they can. It's just, again, for the football fans out there, it's 3rd and long, in my opinion.
3rd and long. Maybe not 3rd and 18, but 3rd and 17, 3rd and 16, something like that.
There you go. Yeah.
So scale of 1 to 10, confidence level of the Rays sneaking into the playoffs, you're about a 4, 5, 6 middle ground?
No, it would have to be less than that. I think it would be like a 3.5, 4. Okay. Yeah.
I gotcha. All right. Well, all they can do, just keep winning series, sweep a series here and there, and
that's what they need.
Sweet, something going. Yeah. Or have an off day and have everybody else lose. Maybe that'll help you.
Yeah, that works.
All right. In the meantime, that will wrap up this edition of Locked On Rays. Thanks as always for making us your first listen every day. Tomorrow and Wednesday, perhaps, we may have the Klosky Meister on the show. So stay tuned for that. Talk to you later. Goodbye.